put away our slide rules now and go to the Second Amendment pertaining to gun control for the uninformed, which I don't believe any are present. What, if any, restrictions do you want applied to the Second Amendment? What, if any, restrictions? Neil, you were so eloquent. Why don't you begin?
I believe in the Second Amendment, and I want to make this clear. No restrictions. Zero. No restrictions. Common sense solutions. There's a ridiculous microstamping law that they tried to push through in New York State, which basically they have the DNA on it. That is how the government is getting into our lives, knowing every single thing. If you're with your family and you're outdoors in a safe location in the woods, you accidentally discharge your weapon and it goes into a tree, and an officer comes around 3 months later or a year later, no one died, the tree might be affected, but sorry about the trees, but they go and they take that bullet and then they come to your house. The federal government or state or local, knock. We have something enforced. You know you're not allowed to kill trees. We're going to fine you. That is how the government comes into our lives. Little ways. The framers of our Constitution said, you have the right to bear arms. If any candidate tells you that they're for any restriction, then they're violating what the framers intended. I am for no restrictions. It's ridiculous that these burglars and con men can own a weapon, and I have to tell my local sheriff why I want one, or I have to apply for a permit, or I have to let the government know that I own a firearm. No restrictions. Proud gun owners. If every day during this election, in case you don't know, you get all these surveys, and I got one from the NRA, and they listed so many restrictions that Congress is tossing out at us. And you read it and you say, you've got to be kidding me. I'm reading it and I go, you've got to be kidding me. No, you've got to be kidding me. No, I can't agree to that. Every single answer was, you've got to be kidding me. This is how they want to invade our personal life and our personal freedoms. I am for no restrictions. Make that clear. There's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. No restrictions.
I support the Second Amendment as an individual right. I define it according to the individual right. There are different ways of interpreting the Second Amendment. To me, it is something that belongs to each citizen individually. I don't apply the generalized militia interpretation. I have interviewed with the NRA. I have had their questionnaire in my hands as well, and I answered, I believe, 100% of their questions to the satisfaction of the NRA. They do have an entirely rational and appropriate approach to gun ownership, firearm ownership in this country, and I am an NRA member. I'm also a New York State Rifle and Pistol Association member. So I think you can feel secure that your Second Amendment rights will have an advocate in the Congress if I have the privilege of being your servant there.
Okay, I'm going to put a couple of them together regarding jobs. New York State, USA, global, all right? Manufacturing business with family sustainable paying jobs. I'm going to try that again. Manufacturing businesses with family sustainable paying jobs seems to have died in New York State. Example of pharmaceuticals. How would you bring it back? And tied to that, what is your view on outsourcing high-paying jobs from the U.S. and importing low-paid technical workers.
Again, the biggest impediment, this is a theme, but it's a theme that we need to keep pressing. The biggest impediment to having good paying jobs in District 19 is the excessive tax and regulatory burden that's imposed on you by both the federal government and the government of New York State. Obviously, my role is as your federal legislator. I'd like to see, as a citizen of New York State, I'd like to see certain things happen. I hope we're going to get a new wave of leadership in Albany as well, obviously. But as a federal legislator, I feel strongly that if we allow our entrepreneurs, our small businesses, and our larger businesses who are accountable to their clients and their customers and their employees and their shareholders, and in a vigorous free market economy, all of those interests actually align and synergize. If we allow you as consumers, if we allow the marketplace to make choices and to have the resources that you need in order to grow opportunities, that the mix of job offerings in this county, that the variety of enterprises in this county would be greatly improved. This is a beautiful place to live with all kinds of human resources and natural resources. There is no reason whatsoever that we should not be able to have a thriving base that is diverse, that represents the needs and the opportunities that should exist in this economy, in this country, if we free our citizens from the burdens being placed now by a federal government that has far outgrown its constitutional size and scope. We've talked about the tax interventions that I think need to happen. We've talked about the health care law being repealed, replaced, defunded, depowered. Those are the fundamentals on the taxation side. We've talked about reducing federal spending. If we do those things, and it's going to take an enormous amount of work to do those things, but if we do those things, and also if we have true healthcare marketplace reform, I as a physician can bring my experience to bear in that way, and as a small businesswoman can bring my experience to bear. You need to be able to buy insurance across state lines. You need